the OFNC. So OFNC is an acronym for Overseas Fellowship of Nigerian Christians. Today's seminar, as I said before, is one of two series. And the second seminar is scheduled to happen on the 25th of October. Now, we're privileged to be joined by really excellent speakers in this field. We have the pleasure of having Ms. Inioluwa Popoola, who is a PhD student at the Department of Chemistry, University of Cambridge. We also have Dr. Egena Ode, who is a lecturer at the Center for Enterprise at the Manchester Metropolitan University. I am going to be your host today, and I am a lecturer at King's College London. I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of what will happen today. So first, we will meet our panelists. So I'll give a couple of minutes to each of the panelists to introduce themselves. After that, we will hear a brief remark by the chairman of OFNC, who we hope he will tell us about OFNC broadly, but also the initiative of the Back to Roots. And I think without further ado, if our panelists are here, and if you can I just confirm that Dr. Ode is available?
Yes, I am.
Yep. Are you okay to, if it's possible, I can't see your video. Is it possible to show your video so we can know who you are? And can I just confirm that Ms. Inioluwa Popoola is also on the line?
Yes, I am.
Right, thank you. And can I just say thank you for making our time to do this and to share your experience with us. We're really pleased to have you here. And with your expertise and experience in scholarship and also supporting students, we are getting the best that we can possibly have for this subject. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and to listen to your own experience. And I just thought maybe I could give you a couple of minutes each to tell us about yourself, probably your career, where you started from, and your inspirations, really. So if I start with Ms. Inioluwa, and then Dr. Ode, if you can go after her.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. It's a great privilege, and I don't take it for granted. My name is Inioluwa Popoola, but my name is still Shonya Afolabi. Don't mind me; it's my daddy's name. I completed my BSc or my BTech in chemistry from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology in Nigeria, after which I moved into the UK. And I was privileged to be awarded the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship to pursue my MPhil in chemistry at the University of Cambridge. And upon the completion of my MPhil degree, I was still privileged again to be awarded the prestigious Gates Cambridge Scholarship for my PhD. So currently I'm in my second year, and my research really focuses on investigating materials for CO2 capture. So I look forward to speaking to all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ine. Dr. Ode, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Egena Ode. I'm a senior fellow of the UK Higher Education Academy. I did my PhD in Business and Management from the University of Manchester, and I did my MSc in Innovation and Creativity from the University of Newcastle. My first degree was from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and I've worked across multiple universities, from the American University of Nigeria to Benue State University. I've been a research fellow with the University of Huddersfield in the United Kingdom. I've also done postdoc with the University of Manchester, but currently I'm a lecturer with the Department of Strategy and Sustainability and Enterprise with the Manchester Metropolitan University. So my experience cuts across research, in business and management, and across other fields as well. So it's nice to meet you today.
Nice. I'm sure everyone is really pleased to have you both here at this meeting. And I think the next in the agenda will be looking at inviting the chairman of OFNC. Unfortunately, he can't attend in person today, but he has sent a video which I will invite one of our colleagues to play the video. So he's Dr. Inioluwa. He will tell you about the OFNC and the Back to the Roots initiatives.
Good day to you, and a very warm welcome to you all to the Back to Roots program of the Overseas Fellowship of Nigerian Christians. I'm delighted to welcome you. My name is Inioluwa, and I'm the national chairman of the fellowship. Back to Roots is a very important part of our program of activities. Regular meetings are held in which we address topics of interest to those of you who are in your career growth phase or studying or working. And we thank God for the link that the OFNC has back to its roots, which was actually a number of students in the 1960s who came to the United Kingdom from Nigeria and found great solace in being able to share fellowship, encourage one another, and grow their Christian faith. They came as Christians, they wanted to maintain their faith. They attended churches locally in the UK, but the experience wasn't quite as encouraging or welcoming as perhaps it might be today. There was still a notion of people from other countries not being as warmly welcome in some of our congregations. But all things work together for good, and the Lord enabled this fellowship, and indeed a number of other Christian fellowships like the Africa Christian Fellowship and the Nigerian Chaplaincy to be formed in that same period, the 1960s, by Nigerians and African students in the UK. Today, we're looking at funding your studies and the opportunities to look at study scholarships. This is part one of this program, and I'm grateful to Inioluwa Popoola and Dr. Egena. I hope I've pronounced your names well. If not, please apologies. Who will be talking through this program for us and helping us to understand what the opportunities are for us. So once again, it's a great pleasure and hope you have a wonderful time. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay for the program, got other commitments, but this is a welcome time to get to know one another, share experiences, and grow our Christian faith and our knowledge of what it is God has made available to us, so we can avail ourselves of scholarship opportunities and progress our studies. As a person who himself has benefited from a scholarship program, I do appreciate this. I was able to undertake a doctoral study in Italy based on an EU scholarship some years ago. So yeah, have a wonderful time together, and I hope it's as wholesome and encouraging and beneficial as we hope it to be. So thank you again, and have a wonderful program. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you to the chairman. He's not here, but we'll pass the message that the Back to Roots team is grateful for his time in doing this video. Right. The next two items in the agenda will be short presentations by our panelists. They will have 10 to 12 minutes each to just share with us what they would like to pass across in regards to funding opportunities. And we'll then have question and answer section. And at this point, you can post your questions on the chat box, and we will have a section where we'll address all your questions together. Yeah. Right. I would like to invite Dr. Ode to give us his presentation, and Dr. Ode will give us a general overview of the scholarship opportunities that are available, and Inioluwa will follow immediately after and give us more details about applications and what people are looking at out for in CVs and applications. Dr. Egena Ode, welcome. You have the stage.
Thank you very much. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Just to add to the introduction earlier, I also benefited from scholarships, so for my master's and my PhD. So I'm speaking more or less from experience for most of the things that I'll be sharing today. So there's a lot to say about scholarships, but 10 minutes is just a short time. So I'll run through some of the key themes that I've prepared for today, and the team would send the full PowerPoint slides to whoever is interested. And once you're interested, just feel free to indicate as we go ahead, and the presentation will be sent to you. So it's so strange that a lot of people don't even know what the scholarship is. A few weeks ago, someone contacted me when I posted the scholarship on my Facebook, and she asked if would she be allowed to pay her school fees in bits if she takes the scholarship. And I had to school her to let her know that, look, the scholarship would take the burden off you, and that's why it's a scholarship. And that, it can help you take off that financial burden, give you access to quality education, to study anywhere in the world. It can help you boost your CV and, give you future opportunities. So there are different types of scholarships. So a lot of people usually believe that scholarships are meant for specific people who are super intelligent, who have scored A's all their lives. On the screen, you'll see one of my students from Benue State University, the one playing basketball. She got a sports scholarship because of her interest in basketball. And that sports scholarship has taken her through an undergraduate program, a master's program, and she's been in the US since 2016, courtesy of a sports scholarship. So there are different types of scholarships. You can take a merit-based scholarship, which is what we are very used to for people who have scored, very good grades. Also, if you are skilled in terms of sports, you can play football, basketball. There are schools that also offer sports scholarships, so you can use your skills also to apply for scholarship. There are some that are need-based. There are scholarships meant for Christian students. I'll share some pictures of some of my friends who have benefited from such scholarships in the past. So there are also country-specific schemes like the PTDF you can apply for, and there are some that are specific to certain fields, chemistry, management, STEM courses, and there are some that are also just peculiar to females, diversity scholarships. So don't limit your search for scholarships to only, merit-based scholarships. So when you're searching for scholarships, it's important to broaden your scope and look at where your key strengths are and to seek scholarships that align with your key strengths. And one of the issues that people have when looking for scholarships is where to find scholarships. And, one of the assets that you have in your hand today is your mobile phone and your access to the internet. When I started searching for scholarships, then we had no mobile phones. We had poor internet connectivity. I had to rely on a cyber cafe. And what I basically did then was to do what we call overnight browsing at the time. So I go to cyber cafes every Friday night to Saturday morning, searching throughout the night because it's cheaper, to do an overnight browsing. Stay awake. I search for opportunities, find opportunities, then go home, gather the documents, go back the next Friday, and continue from where I stopped. But now you have these gadgets in your hand. You can search for scholarships. You can, apply for scholarships just from the comfort of your home. So where do you look out for scholarships if you want some? University websites is one way to get scholarships. So one of the methods I recommend is to, okay, let's say choose a country. Let's say you want United Kingdom. Generate a list of all names of the universities in that country. So I'll just generate a list and then check those names one after the other, go to the scholarship pages and see what's available. And the fact that something is not available today doesn't mean that it may not be available tomorrow. So you need to be, frequent in checking. And when you're checking, then you understand the timelines and when they call for these scholarships and then what you need to apply. So there are online platforms like Scholarship Hub, scholarship.com. There are, study portals that you can also use. And in recent times, social media has also been a great source of scholarship information. Twitter, for instance, X. You see people posting opportunities. On LinkedIn, you see people, posting also opportunities. You can also find from, local organizations, and one of the other key parts that we ignore is networking. We can use networks, connect with people who have already benefited from scholarships, ask them questions, and they'll be willing to direct you. So when you know what scholarship to apply for, there are certain things that you need to do. The second part of this presentation will take you through the practical steps, but you need to research about the scholarship. You need to know the documents that you are being asked to provide, and you need to tailor your CV. Your CV must be prepared in a particular format, and you need to arrange it in a way that fits that scholarship. Remember that others might be applying for the scholarship and they're going to pick, the best applications at the time of that scholarship. So you also need to prepare what they call a statement of purpose, which will share your passion, talking about what you've done before, what you're going to do now, and how that will benefit you in the future. You also need to prepare for interviews. For some scholarships, they'll call you for interviews. They really want to know how, the scholarship would benefit you and what you bring. All that, you can find resources on YouTube and, online to guide you through this. So one of the tips that I'll share when you're applying for scholarship is to start early. Know the timelines and know when the deadlines are, the eligibility criteria, and, what you need to apply. And don't just make a generic application. Customize your application. Give people to help you proofread, to see that you're communicating what you want to say correctly. And then recommendation letters are so important. Don't just give it to anyone. Give it to people who would, who really know you, who can say something about you, and who would provide a strong recommendation for you. One of the challenges that people face is eligibility issues. And for me, I believe that when I'm applying for a scholarship, I don't kind of discriminate against myself. I don't, discourage. But even if I know I am not eligible, sometimes I just apply. After all, if I don't apply, I won't get it, and I can't stand this chance until I apply. So I just throw my application. I say, okay, whatever comes out of it, it's going to be a learning experience, right? So, but even if you don't get it, the fact that you went through the process will teach you how to apply for another scholarship, because the process is basically the same. So it's a learning experience. So apply for as many as possible. Don't limit yourself to big scholarships. There are some very tiny country-specific, university-specific, local scholarships that are not very popular. You can, benefit from those. There are some documents that you need, or sometimes that you get familiar with when you're applying for scholarships. So you need to know the application form. Most of them come online. You fill a form. You need to get your academic transcripts, which is like a record of all your academic grades over time. For some, if you're applying while you're still a student, you might, provide a proof of enrollment, or you also need your CV. Some scholarships might need English test and some other documents. You have access to this slide, so you can see a list of some of these documents that I've mentioned. So there are some common misconceptions about scholarships. And one of them is that, it's for only top students. I've listed some of these misconceptions so that it can help you shape your mind to prepare you for these scholarships. And one of the things that I want you to know is that it is possible for anyone to secure a scholarship. You just need the time and the patience and God to be on your side, right? So you can never be selected if your application is not present at the time of evaluation. So you need to, make sure you throw yourself in, but speak to people, seek expert advice, let people advise you, and keep improving. I've just put a list of a few scholarships that you can look out for. All right, the Erasmus, the Mastercard Foundation, and a lot of these scholarships. Check each of these, check the eligibility criteria, the timelines, and give yourself adequate time to prepare for these scholarships. So, before I conclude, if you look at the screen, these are some of my previous students and my friends who have secured scholarships across the world. The first person just got a scholarship to Italy. The second patient was my project student who I identified and encouraged. In fact, she didn't even believe she could get a scholarship. Her parents couldn't sponsor her, but we were able to secure the scholarship, and she has been in the US through a basketball scholarship. The third picture is ISA and his wife. Isa was my classmate and coursemate during my HMB program, and we went to ABU together. He was my roommate in my third year in the university, and he had a second class degree, 2-2. And then when he was seeking scholarships, a lot of people told him, scholarship is for first class students and 2-1 students. Why are you, disturbing yourself and wasting your time? But the summary is that Isa got the same scholarship with his wife, and they've been in Hungary for almost 8 to 10 years now, courtesy of that scholarship. And that was because he persisted. He was rejected multiple times, but he persisted, and eventually he got a scholarship. Alex, the pictured below, also got a scholarship to Russia. The previous year he applied, he didn't get it, and we had to look for people who had applied for that similar scholarship. We contacted them and asked them what they did, and through the guidance, he applied again, and again he got it, and he has just resumed. The other Faith, who is up there, also benefited from Commonwealth scholarship, and she's currently studying for her MSc degree. These are people who are close to me, my ex-students, my friends, who saw what happened and decided that they also would need to embark on this journey. So it's a long journey, but the first thing you need to do is that you have to prepare your mind. It is possible only if you think you can do it, because people are doing it, and the fact that you get a rejection does not matter. You're looking for just that one email that will tell you congratulations. So I'll wait for your questions when the second presenter is done with her presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ode. I think the catchphrase will be it's a long journey.
Yeah.
And even if you're rejected, keep applying.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you keep applying until you get that right email that says, congratulations, we're pleased to offer you this position. And I think from my experience as well, I started applying for scholarship I think in 2009, but I eventually got a scholarship in 2012. So it can be a short journey for some other people. It can be a journey of persistence and not giving up, even if you get lots of rejection, just continue to apply. And again, just like Dr. Ode mentioned, if you have guidance, it will really help, right? Because I think when we started applying for scholarship, we have little guidance. So we throw applications without really just not getting that applications that will stand out of the pools of application. So if you have anybody to proofread the application, it will help. I state and review applications for scholarship, and I know the sort of competitions that you're likely to face with not just people within a particular ethnicity, but people across the best of the best across the whole world. So it's what putting that time into your application, highlighting those things that you think might not be important, but just bringing them out and highlighting it to. Don't assume that people will know that you have this. Make sure you put it out there, highlight those scholars, those special skills that you have that make you stand out from other applicants. I think at this junction, I'd like to bring in our second speaker, Ms. Inioluwa Popoola. the floor is yours. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Godwin, and thank you, Dr. Ode, because you've laid a very strong foundation for me. It's just for me to build on and to share my own experience of how I got my scholarship at the University of Cambridge. So I'll just share my screen now. Sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So welcome everyone. Welcome to the program. And yeah, Dr. Ode has really done justice to the theme of the event this evening. And my talk will just be to walk us through how to ace our postgraduate application for fully funded scholarship. So I believe if you are here today, it's either because you want to apply for a scholarship, or you have some loved ones that you want them to benefit from a scholarship. So I would like to start with the good news. So I want to bring it home to you that MasterCard at the University of Cambridge wish to graduate at least 500 Africans from the University of Cambridge by 2030. And the application for 2025, 2026 section is still on, so you can apply. And also the good news for Gate Cambridge Scholarship is that next year they want to add additional 25 scholarship to the 80 scholarship they used to award international students to study at the University of Cambridge. So because they are celebrating their anniversary, they want to give like additional 25 scholarships. So this could be you smiling after you've gotten your scholarship. So what I will be doing today is to tell us how I prepared myself for these two opportunities and what you need to put in mind if you want to consider some opportunity like this. So first, I think to maximize this scholarship opportunity, just like Dr. Ode said, you want to start out believing first in God and also in yourself that you can do it. So for me, my scholarship journey stemmed out of desperation because it wasn't because I necessarily want to japa at that time, but because I was a bit frustrated when I moved into the UK and I started doing some job that I don't think I will be doing in my life because they are not mentally demanding and they are very strenuous. So I remember that I just have to say, okay, if God has said this concerning me, he said all things are possible for them that believe. And also I have the enablement through Christ to do all things. So nothing is impossible for me. So that was where I started from. I started out believing in God, that through him I can do it, and through myself, putting every effort into it, I can do it. And also I want us to know that believing is not enough. You have to also do the work because faith without work is dead. So we need to put in the right hard work that will gain us this scholarship. So what is the work we are talking about? Because it looks like a free money. What they want you to do is to justify why you are a great fit for this funding. So how was I able to justify myself that I was a great fit for this funding? So I started out doing some necessary research. You know, Dr. Ode has covered some of the things we need to do. So when I wanted to apply, I was really asking myself, why do I need a scholarship? I think the question is to start from there, that why do you really need a scholarship? Is it just to leave Nigeria and come to abroad? I think it should be stronger than that. So mine is because I just felt, no, this job I'm doing is not the best for me. I believe I have more capacity than what I'm currently doing, and I want I want to do better things with my life. So I have to say, okay, I applied, but I know that the money is too high. So I need some kind of financial relief to be able to further my education. So I have to decide which course do I want to do, which school do I want to go, and which lab do I want to work in. Because all this will determine the kind of scholarship type you will apply for. I asked myself, how competitive is the opportunity I want to apply for? Because I know if it's very competitive, I need to up my game so that I will stand a good chance of getting the scholarship. I look at the selection criteria. I try to look at the academic requirements. I look at what the document they want us to submit and the deadline. So the first time I came across Gates Cambridge Scholarship, I think Professor Adebisi sent me the link. I saw it. It was a month to the deadline. I was like, no, I'm not prepared for this. I had to wait another year before I applied for the scholarship. Another thing I asked myself, just like Dr. Ode said, was who are the people that have gotten this scholarship that I could speak to, and are there mentorship group in the university I'm going to that can put me through the application process? And I asked myself a sincere question if I was ready to give it a go. When I saw that I was ready, then I tried to research various opportunities, just like Dr. Ode said. So for the university scholarship, there are a lot, especially in Cambridge. We have over 200 scholarships with the with the Cambridge Trust itself. And for the open-ended scholarship, these ones are the most competitive one because you are competing on a global level. You have so many people that are applying to the scholarship, so which makes the chance of getting it very slim. Or if you are applying to a project advertised or region targeted scholarship, I think it's narrowed down the number of people you'll be competing with. So for MasterCard scholarship, MasterCard is only targeted, especially in University of Cambridge, Edinburgh, Oxford, and some other universities like that, is only targeted towards Africans. And also we have some gender specific scholarship like Google DeepMind. So I was like, okay, I want to go for the gate because I know the opportunity that it offers. Number one, I have children and I know they cater for dependents. So I will get some money to put my children at the nursery. So I think that was a good fit for me. So I started preparing towards applying for the open-ended one, which I think they were very competitive. So these are other ones that are out there that one can explore. So when I checked the selection criteria for GATE, so of course they want someone that is very strong academically. And I like the point that Dr. Ode said that you don't need to, it's not only about academics. You can be excellent in other aspects and still get the scholarship, right? So for this one, it's particularly about the academic prowess, so and your intelligence capacity. So when I look at it, I look at the academic requirement. They just want a first class, and I felt, okay, I have that. Let me go for it. Now, the problem with this scholarship is these three ones that I've highlighted. They want the leadership experience. They want commitment to improving lives of others. They want your voluntary roles. They want you to bring your extracurricular activities on board to pitch it. And I want to quickly emphasize that whenever you are trying to answer the selection criteria, you want to justify it. Please put these three things in mind. They are looking for impact. They want you to pitch the impact of anything you've done in the past. It's not the time to be humble. So you have to blow your own trumpet so that people will believe in you. And also they want to have like a skill. They want to have a good context because you are coming from Nigeria, they are in the UK, they want to understand what is the context you are giving us. So if you say you are a first class student, how well do you rank in your class? How many people are in your class? If you've said you've done something in the past, how many people has that thing impacted? If you said you got a grant, how much are we talking about? So they want you to give them some skills so that they can put your application in context. And also they want you to show forth the evidence and bring out your superpowers. So for me, when I applied for my master's, I applied for Gates Cambridge Scholarship, but I was rejected. So when I got rejected, I cried a bit because it's painful because I've put all my mind on it. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I've put all my mind on it and I felt, oh, this is the only scholarship I know at that time that can get me into Cambridge, and it seems all hope was lost. But after crying a few tears, I had to go back to the drawing board like, wait, why was I even rejected? What was the problem? So I went back to look into my application document, and I saw that these three things, I didn't pitch it well. It's not as though I didn't have leadership experience because all through my time during my uni days, I was like a leader in my student fellowship. I was doing some mentorship, some tutoring for people. I volunteered with my supervisor to work with him in his research lab just to gain experience on how to write publication because I know I want to do research. But because everything was in church context, I don't know how to bring out the impact of what I've done in church and how that has impacted the life of people I was working with in church settings. So I remember when I was talking with my mentor, it was just like, yeah, you work in church, but we've not seen the impact of anything you've done in church. So I was like, wow, So it's because of this. It's not because I don't have it, but because I don't know how to pitch it well. So what I did, I went back to the drawing board and I said, okay, if I've been rejected for this, I need this scholarship for my PhD. So I now start again by volunteering to be in a leadership capacity at the University of Cambridge. So I volunteer with, this one is not even church now, because I know that maybe, well, for some reason, maybe they might not even take my church leadership experience seriously. So I had to step out into a secular world, into executive role in the African Society. So I was the academic officer. I volunteered with a conference, chair, like logistic chair of the conference, and I volunteered to mentor some people after getting my master's scholarship. So I started doing all of this in preparing myself to apply for the GATE scholarship the next year. So if you have some publication record, I think it's very great, because I have some publication record. I could show forth that, oh, I have some publication record. These are what I've done in the past, and these are the impact of the research I've been doing. So also from the selection criteria, they want me to justify how I how I intend to contribute to the goal of the scholarship, because it's a scholarship that wants to raise global leader. They want to see how ambitious I am to contribute to the goal of the scholarship. So don't forget these three things: scale, impact, and evidence. So whenever you want to justify all of these things, bring out the impact, the leadership you've done, the commitment to improving the lives of people, like everything that you've done, how has it impacted people? That's what they are really looking for. Now, so for the required documents, I think what will make your application stand out is to really check what is going into your personal statements, how you structured your CV, your reference and your transcripts and your research proposal. So for your personal statement, I think you want to give the committee a glimpse about you beyond your grades. You want them to know where you come from, your past, what has influenced the decision you've made in the past, what you've done in the past, the impact, and how your past experience has really shaped you to prepare you enough for the research you want to do now. What are the challenges you've overcome in the past and what drives you? So they want you to bring all these things out in your personal statements. For instance, in one of my essays, I had to write it there that despite the fact that I have a child at that time and I'm doing a very intense master's course in the University of Cambridge, I still volunteer to work with the African Society. And that's to tell them that I am able to navigate any form of challenges that may come my way, because that itself could be a limiting factor, but I never let it slow me down. So in your CV, is your marketing piece is something that will represent you when you are not there. So you want it to really be engaging and to tell them the story about you without you raising a voice. So you want to ask yourself, does it really represent you well enough to speak in your absence? Does it reflect everything you've done, all the skills you've gained through your past experiences? Is it maximum of 2 pages or is longer than that? If it's longer than that, you will have to streamline it. And also, is it quick to read? Is it very easy to read at the first instance? And also, do you have your picture on your CV? They don't want to see your picture. So you have to remove that. So you have to work on your CV as well. Now, I will emphasize on your references because, to be honest, most of this scholarship, if you will get it, it really depends on who is writing your reference and what they are writing for you. So you want to ask yourself, who are your referees? Do they know you well enough to write a personalized statement reference for you? And do they understand the criteria? Because for GATE, I think they want a separate reference. Oh, so this was one of the mistake I made in the first application as well. So the same reference I used for my academic application, like my course application, I just repeated the same thing for my GATE scholarship reference. No wonder they didn't even pick me. So the next year, what I did was to find 3 different set of people, because 2 people have to write reference for me for my course, and 1 person should write a GATE reference. So I had to look for a person to write my GATE reference. And the best thing for you to do, especially with Nigerian professors or lecturers, is to draft them a copy, talking about the selection criteria they are looking for. So I had to draft the selection criteria, how I met those criteria, tell my supervisor, oh, this is what I've been doing ever since I left your lab, that I wasn't working with you again. These are some voluntary roles I've taken. These are my leadership skills now. You write everything, you send it to the person. The person has a draft to work with so that it will be easy for them to write. And you want to also check if they will really submit your reference before the deadline, because for some of this scholarship, if they didn't receive your reference, even if you submitted everything, they won't consider you for the funding. So I had to check if everything is in place. I can chase my supervisor Hall. So you want to nominate someone that you can chase up with calls if they are slow about it. And you want to also ask if you have enough time to process your transcript so that all of these things will not delay you. So for my research proposal, I had to highlight what I've done in the past, what I intend to do, and my future plans. So I had to tell them why they should care about my research. That is, I pitched the impact, the importance of this research that I want to do. And I told them the reason why I decided to choose the lab I want to do it in. So I told them about my skills, what I've done in the past, the skills I've developed from it, and how that will make me to thrive in this research that I want to do. So also you want to tell them how the research you want to do now. If they give you the money, if you do the research, with the research prepare you for the future the future career you want to do. So you want to connect everything together. So these are some of the checklists you should go through when you are preparing your required documents. So another important thing is deadline. So most of us, I was also a victim of it. We rushed to submit our documents. We rushed to submit our essays, right? Because we felt there is a mark for early submission. No. So they won't review your application until after the deadline. So you want to invest more time in reviewing that application multiple times to make it stand out. And I think getting a mentor is very, very important here. So you get a mentor who will review your application for you and give you feedback. So also you want to be sure of the deadline for your course application and also for your funding application as well, because sometimes it's the same deadline, sometimes there are different deadlines. So you want to master that, and also you want to submit everything before the deadline. So you want to submit a day before, and also you want to ask yourself, if you think you don't meet all the requirements, there is no harm in trying to say, okay, I will take 1 year off and prepare myself for, since I know what they are looking for, I will prepare myself to meet this opportunity next year. I think that was what I did for my Gates Cambridge scholarship. When I wasn't given the first year, I was like, okay, let me use that to learn and try to prepare myself better to get the opportunity the second time I was applying to it. So yeah, so these are some of the things I put together for the interviews. So multiple rehearsal. If you know me, if I want to do anything, I think from the day they send me that email for interview, I do my research, I start preparing. I reach out to people, prepare in front of mirror, preparing the car, anywhere. I'm just preparing my answers. I'm rehearsing, not necessarily memorizing it, but I want to be familiar with how I will answer any question they ask me. And I always get myself a mentor and a coach. I spoke to so many scholars, so many gay scholars that have gotten it in the past. And I was like, oh, what did you do differently? Where am I missing it? And they pointed it out to me, and I used their feedback to improve on myself. Yeah, so another thing is they want you to bring out your superpower. So what do I mean by superpower? So in Nigeria, I think we don't want to talk about our limitation. For instance, if you suffer from one form of disability or the other, people don't want to talk about it. But it's important you talk about it in your interview, not from the point of pity, but from the point of strength. Like, oh, this is something that could have limited me in the past, but this was how I overcome this challenge to be a better person, to do great things that I've done. So you want to showcase your superpower. And also, yeah, you want to disagree politely if they say something that you don't agree with in the interview. You want to ask intelligent and engaging questions. And for me, the way I do this is to research my panelists. When I have an idea of the panelists that I'll be speaking to, I go and dig into their accounts, look for their research, read about them, ask them something that will engage them during the interview, so that they will know that, oh, this person is really interested in what you are doing. And she's not just interested in the money she wants to gain from us. So you want to research about them, ask questions about them, what they are doing, show interest. And also, it's important. I think it's important to master your opening line and every opening line to every question. For instance, if they say, oh, why do you think you are a good fit for this scholarship? You don't want to start saying, I think. You want to master all of those opening lines, and you want to end every question on a very strong note. Like, I believe if you give me this scholarship, it will enable me to do this and contribute greatly to the society. Also, you want to look at the face of the panelists to gauge their interest. Are they really interested in what you're saying? If you see that someone is not really interested into you, you better try and woo that person to your side so that you will get the money. So those are some of the things I did for my own scholarship application process. Yeah, so these are some mentorship platform. LinkedIn is your friend. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn. You can check the African Society to ask them if they have mentorship platform. I've just listed a few here that you can explore that provide scholarship for some of these universities. And these are some useful links. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I'm hoping to hear your questions. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you very, very much. And I think just to echo what you've said, and I think one of the words or the phrase that struck me well is faith without work is dead, right? So of course you need to have the motivation, but you need to put in the work. And between you two, you've managed to emphasize on the need to put in the work, right? A lot of work is involved from searching for the opportunities and preparing for the applications, applying, and the documents that you need, and also for the interview. You also emphasize on blowing your trumpet, and I totally agree with you. If you have any skills, if you don't say it in the application, we're not mind readers, right? So no one is going to see it. And no matter how small the skill you think it's important you emphasize on these skills. You emphasize on what you have that make you stand out from all pools of applicants. And I think what I like about what you did in the second GATE application was that you stepped back and took your application and looked at it. It was like taking it and ripping it and then redoing everything again. And I think we can learn from this, right? If you get rejected from an application, some application may provide feedback, some may not. But it's important to not just resubmit it or make minor changes. It's important to ask those questions, right? What made me not to get this scholarship? Identify how you can improve on your future applications by speaking to mentors, and both of you we echo the need for mentorship and guidance. If you know anyone, try to politely ask them to read your application. And I think even my students in here, if they're applying for PhD, they come to me, oh, do you mind reading my application? Do you mind if I do a mock interview with you? So it's important if you do a lot of rehearsals as well, if you get the opportunity for interview. And yes, thank you for giving us that comprehensive presentation. And I'm hoping that we have all gained from it. And I hope that your slides will be available after the meeting, which you can also go over it. And this meeting is also being recorded, so you may want to listen to some of these presentations or the two presentations again, in case you miss our points. At this point, I would like to take a couple of minutes break to give our panelists just a few minutes to have a sip of water, a drink, and then we can come back. I'll ask you to post your question in the chat box. I will read out the questions to the panelists, and yeah, we can address your questions from there. Just to highlight that the second part of this seminar series will take place on the 25th of October, same time as well. We will send invites around, and I think there will be a feedback form afterwards. If you drop your email, we will also be able to email you details about the next events and also future events. One more minute and then we can make a start. For those of you dropping your emails, you don't necessarily need to share your email here. We will send out forms, online feedback form, and you can complete that feedback form, and we can have access to your email from there. Right. If it's okay, can I have our panelists back, please? Great. Thank you both for very inspiring and very informative presentations, and I did learn a lot from it, and I believe your audience and our audience have learned a lot from your presentation. I think there's one aspect before I go into the questions and the chat. There's one aspect I want us to discuss. So we've talked about structured scholarships systems, but there are other scholarship or funding opportunities that are a bit informal, so they may not necessarily be advertised. And I want us to look at contacting supervisors, for example. Some of these supervisors may have some sort of funding that they may not advertise or that you may not be aware of. In looking at contacting supervisor, can you share with us your experience? How did you find your own supervisors? What do you need? Because, sorry, can you, if
You can mute the person, I think. Yep.
Okay, great. I'm sorry for that interruption. So how did you find your supervisor? These professors are a very busy set of people. And I believe that if you're sending an email to supervisors, there are things you need to take into considerations. Do you mind sharing with us your experience in contacting supervisors and finding one?
Okay.
Can I start with, Dr. Ode, maybe? Yeah, so your experience and also the way you have dealt with students and student contacting you as well.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Inioluwa, for your presentation as well. If you're listening to all the presentations, one of the common denominator you discover is that we tried multiple times. I started searching also around 2008 to 2009. I got the first scholarship in 2011. I also got a lot of, unfortunately, emails Godwin also mentioned the same thing. Inioluwa also mentioned the same thing. But it all depends on what you take from those experiences. Like she said, figuring out why it didn't work so that the next time you're putting in the application, it's going to be better. So for me, I tried almost everything that's possible. I sent direct emails. I also got one based on recommendation that someone introduced me to a scholarship that was available at Morgan State University at the time. Or I would say at that time, I couldn't take the opportunity because I lacked experience and I didn't seek mentorship and advice, right? So through networking, I did something somewhere. Someone said, okay, there is this scholarship. Would you want to take it? I can recommend you for it. And gave me all the forms. And it was an MBA at the Morgan State University. And in my head, I wanted an MSc because I wanted a PhD. And I felt like if I do an MBA, I can't do a PhD with it because MBA was a professional degree. And I was not interested in, even though it was an offer that was presented to me, it was years later that I regretted. I said I would have taken it and then move forward from there. There were some others that I also sent direct emails to some professors. Now, as Godwin highlighted, a lot of these professors are very busy. So if you're sending an email, it has to be a complete email with all the information. So you don't expect them to ask you for further information. So when I'm sending an email, I make it brief. I would attach a proposal, a short CV, or some information about myself so that they know exactly, when they read your profile, they know if you're a fit for them and they can reply to you immediately. But if you give half information, some would not reach out to you. The other method I used was speaking to people who I know had people within their network that could reach out. So I could just send an email to maybe the director of academic program of a particular school and let him know that, look, this is my training, this is what I want, if there are opportunities. In fact, the first postdoc that I got, that was how I got it. Because I just met someone and I told him that, this is what I'm looking for. And he said, okay. A few months later, he just texted me and asked if I was still around. I said, yes. And he said, can you come over to this place? And I rushed to the place and he just introduced me to a PI and said, look, he's looking for someone who would be a postdoc in his project. He just interviewed me over a cup of coffee and I started the job before I applied. So he said, okay, go and bring your application. But he told me what to do and I started. That also came through an informal route. So there are some that you go through the normal procedure applying, but there are also a lot of the ones you can do informally. And one way, again, is to find a set of people on LinkedIn, on academic profiles, and follow them so that when they post, you would see. And then you can establish relationships with them.
Great, thank you very much. Ini, can I have your response as well?
Yeah, I think everything Dr. Ode said is true. And my own approach to it, to be honest, I think when I was going to send out like cold emails to supervisor, I listened to a message and the message just said, be showing up, be showing up. And that was what I was just doing. I was just trying to show up anywhere. Like, but how was I doing my show up? One thing I would first do is to research the profile of the department I'm going into, see the people that are doing something that align with my interests, then go to Google Scholar and go and find one paper they've written, maybe recent one, read it. So I will read those papers and I will try to draw out some knowledge from it. Then I will see, okay, everything I've learned in the past, these things I'm learning now, is there anything their work will benefit from, right? Because I want to catch their attention. So I want to like really make an intelligent suggestion for them so that they will think like, oh, this person first is really interested in what you are doing and is bringing something on board. So I think for the two professors I reached out to in Cambridge, that was the approach I used. So I read their work and I knew some things that I could do that could improve the work they are doing in their lab. So I started my email with that, oh, I read your work, you did this is very great, but I have a suggestion. Have you considered this? So then after then, I will now say, okay, this is what I really want to do. I want to do research in your lab. Do you have some space for me? And do you have some funding? So I try to come from the place of interest, something that will interest them. But I think it's important after you've done all of this, you've attached your CV, you've crafted the email. I think it's important to pray. It's not because we are really in a fellowship, that's why I'm saying that, but because you don't know the mood of that lecturer. The present professor I'm working with just spoke to someone in the department. Oh, please, can you read the document of this lady? She sent, the person is a Nigerian, and he just sent my document to the person and was asking the person to recommend me. So everything depends on what you've written and the favor of God. If the person say, oh, the person is not good, that is the testimony the professor will listen to, and he will not bother to reply me. So, but the person was like, oh, she's great, give her a chance, interview her. So we had an interview. So you, as you are crafting everything together, you also want to pray to God to favor you, so that wherever the document goes, it will speak of favor concerning you. So another thing is you want to research. There are some job opportunities on the university websites where they advertise the projects and maybe the grants that the professor has that can fund your research. You want to go through those and see which one align with your interest and reach out to the professor as well. But don't just send a cold email. Send a targeted cold email to the professor. Show that you are interested in what they are doing, and I think they can take it up from there. Yeah. Especially, okay, so the subject of your email also, make it the title of the paper you want to talk about. So you can do that, because if they see like the title of the paper, they will be like, oh, is someone raising a concern? That will grab their attention, because all you want to do is just to grab their attention to give you an audience. So yeah, that was what I did during my application.
That's great. Thank you for your responses. Just to also share my own experience. So I got my PhD scholarship through emails as well. And just like what both of you have said, you need to put in a lot in the email. And as people contact me a lot for PhD opportunities, and I only read emails that people have actually spent time reading my papers. They've actually, oh, I read this your paper, and they can talk about it. The paper, so, oh, now you're talking. And I can arrange meetings with them and talk more. So if you want to contact a professor, make the effort to look into their work, look into their research work, and be more specific about your interest, right? And I think maybe I'll pick up some few questions from the chat box, but if we have time, we will talk about part-time working as source of funding, and we'll see how the feasibility of that is. So I think this will go to Dr. Ode. How can one assess sports scholarships?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so the same way you can access all the scholarships, they also advertise it on the university website. But most of these scholarships you find it mostly in US universities. They do more of the sports scholarship, they have a lot. So how I got to know about the sports scholarship was about the lady I spoke to you about earlier during my presentation. At the time when she was my student and I was supervising her, I saw her interest in basketball as a distraction. So I kept telling her to leave the basketball and focus on her academics. But when I saw that the love was too much, I had to, allow her to be doing it, and I became interested. So they invited her for a sports, and she met another girl from the US. So the summary is that the girl said, well, one way to get the scholarship is to link you up with my coach. So we contacted the coach. So if you go to most of these universities that have sport teams, they have a coach. So one of the ways to get it is to link up with the coach directly. And when we contacted the coach asked us if we had a video reel of her performance, like not just one day performance, like a short video of her playing that basketball across multiple, games. So we didn't have it at that time because we didn't know. Then we started going to the stadium, filming while she was doing. And the specific instruction was not to video the entire game or who is playing. The camera should focus on only that individual, right? So we created those reels and then sent. And they sent this English test for her to take, and she just took the test. It happened so quickly, informally at first, and then they send the application form to apply, and that's how everything worked. So look for the team, the schools that have the game or the sports that fit into that area of your skill. So look at the team, contact the coaches. Some of them will tell you the procedure to apply, but if you contact the coach and they see that you fit or meet their criteria, they'll tell you what to do. That's one of the most straightforward ways to get a sports scholarship.
Right. Thank you very much. Ini, can I just ask, so if someone has enrolled already in a PhD program, probably through personal funding, is it still possible to access scholarship?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's from Nigeria. If you started your let's say your PhD in Nigeria, I think it's very possible. For instance, my husband started his PhD before coming to the UK, and he has to forgo that PhD. But to be honest, when you come to the UK, it's not that ethical to start a PhD and opt out. But to be honest, it depends on you. So yeah, I would say it's very possible. Yeah.
So are there other funding schemes that are available for students who came in here through self-funding? You still able to access scholarship within the university system if you're already enrolled. Maybe you finish your first year, but you can't. Things like hardship money, hardship funds, or any. If you can feel free to jump in, any of you.
Okay, so I think I'll speak for Cambridge.
Mm.
So the way they do it is like this. They have money. So it's better you get the money before you start your program. Because if you don't get the money, you won't get the money again. That's the way it works. Because they will make you sign a form. If you want to self-fund your study, you are saying, oh, I have all the money to sponsor my academics if you don't get like a scholarship. So you can't come in at the second year and now say, oh, sorry, I can't pay again. No, because you've already signed the agreement, right? But exceptional cases used to arise. Maybe the person that had to fund you die or something like that. You can pitch a case for adversity fund, but it's not guaranteed that you will get it. So if you sign an agreement that you will self-fund, they will make sure you stick to that agreement. That's my experience with them. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I think also that would depend on the country that you're applying to, right? Maybe one may be peculiar to the UK, might be different to the US or the Canada
Yeah.
or to Australia. So there are some that, you can get just maybe partial funded scholarships where they give you tuition and then you pay the living expenses, right? The accommodation and your feeding. For those scholarships, you can navigate your way maybe through serving as a teaching assistant or doing some other work within the university to support yourself. It's just taking care of yourself and paying your bills if your tuition is taken care of. There are others that, but like as Ine said, it's best you're able to get a scholarship before you start. Because if you start, it's much more, because part of these scholarships is also to attract students to the university. So if you're already in the university, you're no longer a source of attraction to them because you're looking at that person who is outside, who they can bring. So it's sometimes you could be lucky to meet a supervisor who has access to some funding, and then the person might link you, but that's on a rare case. The best thing for you is to get some form of scholarship before you start.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you just kind of gave us a hint towards what I was going to talk about. So partial funding and as well as self-funding to complement.
Yeah.
What do you think, realistically, are you able to combine PhD work with some sort of self-funding? So if I have partial scholarship, for example, I have the UK tuition fee being paid and probably a living allowance, and I need to pay the international difference. And I'm hoping that I will work to be able to pay the balance or to keep myself in the UK. From your experience, can that work?
I would say it will work, but I also say that it is very hard. because I experienced a part of that at some point. So even though my scholarship was fully funded, it was given to me in a currency other than the British pound. So at some time, it then lost value by my third year because they paid everything up front. And for financial reasons, I couldn't pay my school fees up front. I had to be paying yearly, right? So I had to work to augment that other aspect of the living expense. And I would say that you will not even have time to do any other thing because you'll be working around the clock. And sometimes that fatigue can transfer into your research and then delay your concentration and the time you spend on the program. So if you're funded fully and you're supporting yourself just to, for minor things, you can do that. But when you have to depend fully on what you earn, it's difficult because you have to combine work and again, it's dependent on your field. If you're like, I had this friend who does lab work. You can't leave your specimen in the lab to go and find work. You have to observe your and report your stuff while you're at the lab. For those of us in social sciences and management science, it can be easier because I can read in the night and do my thing. And as long as I'm meeting my deliverables, the time of the reading does not matter. But if you're in the pure sciences, you can't always be that flexible because you have, like, I had a friend who had set times for him to go check what he had in the lab, including on Sundays. We had to be going to his lab to, change some things. I didn't know what he was doing, but I kept telling him, well, he came to the UK to study alphabet. He was studying biochemistry. So there's a lot of A and science and everything. Well, it's difficult. So if you're able to secure funding, it's best. But don't come for a study hoping that you can work and pay. For people who are married, it's a bit easier than someone who is single. That's another angle to it. Because if you work as a partner, like you're working together, because your partner, whoever your wife is, would have access. If one person is studying, other person will have access to work full time. And with that, you can support yourselves and cope better because one person will work full time and support whoever is not working. I had friends who adopted that approach where when the husband was in school, the wife worked and supported. Then when he finished, the wife went back to school, the husband worked and supported, and all of them have finished their PhD. So it's also a formula that if you are married, you can adopt that, and it can be very easy for you to do that self-funded method.
Great, that was good. Ini, do you have something to chip in?
Yeah, so I would just add to what Dr. Ode has said. If you are married and you have kids, please don't try it. Because you need somewhere to put your kids. The childcare is very crazy. Yeah, the money is so expensive, so you have to really count your costs if it's really worth it. And like you said, you won't be at your best at the study too. So the whole goal of studying, if you can't concentrate on it, to be honest, it doesn't worth it. So I would say aim for getting the scholarship. There is nothing like having someone paying for what you're interested in and taking care of you throughout your studies. Yeah.
Right. And Dr. Day, I think in one of our conversations, you alluded to the internet space, or of course, the scholarship space as well. It's like an ocean that sometimes you'll be lost on where to start from. If you have specific interests, subjects, specific interests, how do you streamline to get scholarship that meet that specific interest?
Okay, so there are popular platforms that you can use to search for scholarships. You shared one of them in the chat, which is jobs.ac.uk. You can find a lot of scholarships there. There is like scholarship.com. There is Scholars Hub. So there are different platforms that you can find. So in recent times, what I've found, the way I'm using now to search for scholarships and share is if you go to Twitter and you just put application open or apply now, it filters everything someone has posted that has to do with an application. So I just filter out the scholarships and that someone has posted, and there's the apply now on that phrase, because most scholarships will say applications are open or apply now. So I use those search phrases and it filters out a lot of scholarship. And then I also go to LinkedIn and see professors in the field that I'm interested in, and I follow them or send them a request. So I kind of follow their pages and see what they like and what they post. So you can find something in your area of interest. And if you also have specific universities you're interested in, they have departmental scholarships, faculty, university scholarships. You can also bookmark them and know when the applications are open, know the criteria, and prepare beforehand to also apply. So there are different routes. It's like I said, it's an ocean. You just dive in from anywhere. But now you have your phone. You can easily just search. And one of the ways you can even help yourself now is to use AI. You tell AI, where can I find scholarships in management? It will give you direct answers. So you can use that to ask the same way you can ask me a question, ask AI. Sometimes it might not be absolutely correct, but most of the information will lead you to somewhere. And it's like a search. It gives you a hint and you use that hint to search for more information, and then you keep diving. And like Inioluwa said, you don't package one application for everything. Every scholarship, you have to prepare for it. And I've spoken to some of my students, and one of the things they do easily now is to rely on AI. They say, write a personal statement. They just put it into AI and it generates a personal statement for them. See, whoever is an academic has developed a skill over the years. If they read something that is from an AI, they will know. So if they read something that is natural from someone's experience, they will also know, right? I tell people, as much as the technology is there to help you do these things, please try to do it yourself. Give it to people to help you with feedback, because at that same time, you're developing your writing skills, which is also very important.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, is any of you aware of undergraduate scholarships, probably website that people can find undergraduate scholarship, for example, for medicine, for other programs?
So I think one of the platform I shared, like Zero Graffiti, so they try to support people, they try to signpost people to undergraduate scholarship. Yeah, in the UK, most of it used to be on bursary, but now they are really opening some application like scholarship up. So if you just go to the university website, you can just search. So it might not be a full grant, it might not be a full scholarship, but they used to give some maybe small grants to support undergraduates. Yeah. So
Okay, there are the same way you search for postgraduate scholarships is the same way you search for undergraduate scholarships. Most universities have undergraduate only scholarships. Like as I said, go to the website, and one of the approaches I use is I just go to maybe Google and say, give me a list of universities in New Zealand. I generate a list, take it to Word document or Excel, and I pick each of the universities and I'll just search. So once I put the name of the university in the search, Google search, I add the word scholarship, undergraduate scholarship. So you just put maybe so University, New Zealand, undergraduate scholarship. It takes you to the page. If you don't find anything, you go to the list, the second on your list, right? So you just keep searching. And with time, you kind of develop a natural way to know where to go, because you tend to then know the universities that offer the kind of scholarships you're looking for. And then you search only in those spaces. Some of them will even allow you to subscribe to emails so that they can send you, notifications when the scholarships are available. But you can find undergraduate scholarships. Some might require that you write, like in the US, you write examinations like SAT 1 and SAT 2, right? But you can find scholarships, but search through the universities that you want, through the courses, and you can apply through the same way. Just that for undergraduates, you need to produce, like for my students that have had undergraduate scholarships, your transcript will have to be your secondary school transcript. So they won't just take your WAEC result as evidence that you attended secondary school. Your school will have to prepare all the subjects you did from year 1, year 2 to year 6. And we approached some of the secondary schools. They were able to go through the dossiers because they used to have dossiers, and they used that to prepare transcripts. And that was what Patience, for instance, used to go to the US, because she did her undergraduate again because they gave her the option of where to start from. And I said, go and start from undergraduate. And
Okay.
she left her, she had finished her first degree and she started. So it's possible.
That's right. I think we have directly or indirectly covered most of the questions, but I'm just gonna ask us to discuss one more question, and then we're hoping to round up in the next few minutes. Just be prepared. I will, after this question, I'll ask you to give your closing statement, 1 or 2 minutes to give your closing statement about scholarship and scholarship allocation. But before we go into that, if, especially Dr. Ode, for people who have PhDs and probably are considering either postdoc opportunity, but also changing fields. How can they find opportunities? Where can they look out for opportunities?
Okay. For me, when I got my research fellow position to the University of Huddersfield, I was back home in Nigeria. So I just went to the same jobs.ac.uk, and I filtered with the word research fellow. So I saw some of them narrowed by subject, narrowed by my field, and it listed some of the scholarships. And I went to the university website and then I applied. There were some that I also applied and found they were not on jobs.ac, but I still use that method of listing the universities, going website by website. But now I was searching for vacancies instead, or postdocs. I'll write the name of the university, add the keyword postdoc, or not, and then you apply. And before you apply for postdoc in particular, you need a preparation time. Because they want to be sure that you're an active researcher. And one of the methods that work is that you need to have some papers that are in progress, not necessarily you might have some that are published, but they put more emphasis on papers that are work in progress. So when I list my citation, my references, or my papers that I've written, I still tell you the projects that I'm working on. I was okay. I'm working on 5, 6 projects. 4 of those are already submitted to journal ABCD. 2 of them are currently being worked on. And I found that method has always worked. And in all the interviews that I've attended, their focus was always on the current projects that I was working on and not on the already published works. So I just had a friend who I introduced to postdoc in April of this year. He did his PhD. He didn't even know what a postdoc was. So I said, okay, now that you've done your PhD, what's your plan towards postdoc? He said, what's that? And I explained to him. And the next time he was coming back to me in June, he came with an offer letter.
Wow,
And
that's good.
he just went and said, you've given me what to do. I want to come to you with the fact. He went and found it and applied. And then he didn't even go for, he applied to a postdoc in South Africa. And he got a 350,000 Rand postdoc per year. They funded his flight and everything, and he was highly funded.
Very
And
good.
one of the things he did was that he had always been unemployed at home, not even finding work. I kept asking him, see, just do your master's. He did his master's, just do your PhD. He was unemployed, just patching, and then did his PhD. And within 1 year, he has gotten a postdoc of 350,000 Rand per year. All expense paid. His accommodation was covered for 1 month for him to settle down. They paid his flight and everything. So, but he took that time to prepare. He published a lot of papers within that time. He kept working. So when it was time for him to apply, the evidence was there. If you don't have those publications, not previous publications mostly, have previous ones, 2 or 3, but make sure that you have more projects that you're currently working on or articles that are under submissions. And then a lot of them, when you see the advert, they'll tell you, this is the project that you're working on. And then they'll tell you the person specification. So if you apply without reading the person specification, you might not get an interview. So what I basically do is, it's usually attached as a document. So I download the person specification with a lot of criteria telling you essential skills, compulsory skills, what they need. So I take if they list them in bullet points, I take all of them to a Word document, and I create a document where I create a table, put the criteria, and then list how I meet each of the criteria. And so in the end, I list it and show an example how I have met that criteria in the past. So if there are 14 points, I would address all the 14 points one after the other using example. And one approach is to use the STAR method. It's like say what you're doing, the impact it has made, and how that
Just to come to you, can you just break down what the STAR method is so that people, the audience will know?
Okay, so it's more like being more specific in terms of what it is. Let me just get in the STAR method, you're looking at what is the situation, right? You describe the context of the situation that event happened. What was the task that you did? What action did you take? And what was the result that you got? They want to say it practically. So if you're saying, I need to have a PhD, you need to have a higher degree. I'll show you how I have a PhD and how I've used that PhD to do one or two things, the action that has made me done and what that has made me. So the result that I have. So sometimes it's just one line, create one line from it. Then I use that to create a sentence later on. But the first thing is I just list the points, list the bullet points, and then indicate, how I meet each criteria. I have tried many times and realized that if you jump one of those criteria, you will not be called. So when I do that in a Word document, I then group them because some of them they'll title it as academic requirements. Some of them they'll ask you about your experience, some about research, and some about university engagement. So my cover letter will now cover each of those subtopics. So I'll say, okay, I am so person with experience across different universities. I've done this research here and there. I attended this school, but let me address how I meet the person specification for this job. Number one, I give a title. I explain. I then bring those details I've used I created in the Word document. Now I use it to create sentences and create a story. Okay, in my academics, I have a PhD in business and management. And with that PhD, I've worked across this university A, B, C, D. I've been involved in curriculum development and research and mentorship. And then go to point 2. So each paragraph will address one of the person specification. And
Right.
most of the interviews I've attended, they particularly like that method because it's difficult. It's very easy for them to tick, to say, okay, have you met this? Yes, yes, yes. Because to schedule for interview, what they basically do is to put the person specification, tick your application. Is he having a PhD? Yes. Experience? Yes. Research? Yes. If there's any no, you will not be shortlisted. So there must be something within your experience that you can use to answer, but make sure you provide an answer for each of that person's specification. And because each job will differ, the person specification will change. So what I do is I have a draft of my person specification. So if one job is asking for industry engagement, I can go back to one that I have answered about industry engagement and bring forth the information. Some might ask you about, for instance, when I was applying
Because of our time, maybe we can just
yeah. So
yeah.
in the end, that's just a summary of it. You have to be very detailed and addressing all the person specification. And most of the times that I've done that, at least I got to the interview phase.
That's great. Inioluwa, we want to get people to come to Cambridge, right? We want to get people to come to Oxford. Are there mentorship programs that support Africans, for example, or Nigerians to applying to people who aspire to come to Cambridge or to go to Oxford, for example, or go to Ivy Leagues, for example? Are there mentorship programs that people can subscribe to support them and guide them and mentor them towards applying for this kind of universities?
Yeah, so I benefited from a mentorship program when I was applying because my supervisor connected me to a mentor who prepared me for the application process. So the African Society, they used to have like a mentorship platform. I know of Oxford, it's called AFOX, and Cambridge is called ASCO PAM, because I've been a chair
Sorry,
on that before.
after you finish talking, do you mind typing and posting in the chat so that
Yeah, sure.
we know? Yes, thank you very much.
I'll do that. So yeah, but one thing you need to prepare in mind, because we go through a rigorous process when we want to select mentees. So it's more like you're applying for the scholarship itself. So you have to put a lot of attention into the mentorship application you are submitting. Like you have to demonstrate all your skills, everything they are asking for. You pay attention to all of the things they require you to submit. So yeah, and they will shortlist the rank. So if they see that you stand a good chance, they will shortlist you for the mentorship program and they will onboard you for the mentorship. Yeah. So there are lots of them.
Okay, thank you. I want to give this opportunity to kind of give maybe a closing statement, 1 minute each. If I start with Dr. Ode and then Inioluwa, you can go after him.
All right. Thank you very much. One of the things that I would end with is that if you're trying to plan to travel this road, you need to develop what I call the shock absorbers. Because sometimes you might receive one email that would demoralize you, but you need to pick up yourself and go again. We talk about rejection. Nobody wants to be rejected. But if you want to travel this route, you have to get used to being rejected. And sometimes we tend to think that the rejection is about us. No, it's about your application. Your application is not you. Sometimes it's just the information you've put forth, right? So don't take ownership of the rejection. They've rejected your application. It's not you that they've rejected. You need to pick yourself up and just keep going, right? A lot of us did that before we got to where we are. So keep pushing, ask questions. Don't think that any question is stupid. Feel free to ask questions, seek support, seek help. And I pray that God will grant you all your heart desires and that you get scholarships to where you want to go in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much. Can I just, on behalf of the OFNC Back to Roots team, I just want to thank you both for your time and for sharing wealth of your experience with the audience. And I also want to use this opportunity to highlight that the preparation for this has been a teamwork. So the Back to Roots team, we have really experienced people who coordinate and organize this event. Professor Bamidele Adebisi, Dr. Inioluwa Popoola, Dr. Uchechi Nwadike, Dr. Segun Popoola, Dr. Bengadimo, and myself. We are the team that organize this event, and all of us, although you can't see the faces now, all of us put in a lot of work to bring this event to you. And I just want to use this opportunity to thank the team as well in the contribution. And I think at this junction, we have 1 or 2 notices that we want to pass across. And I believe Dr. Akintunde is available online to give us those notices. Am I right?
Yes, you're right, my brother.
Yes, if you can give us the notices and then probably a closing remark. You just have 2 minutes because our time is fast spent.
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to do is to thank everyone who's been here today. As Christians, you might have heard of the parable of the king who held this wonderful wedding and no one turned up. Well, we've had a great event and we've had loads of people who turned up. So I'd just like to thank you all for turning up. The Overseas Fellowship of Nigerian Christians, as the chairman has said, has been going on now for about 40, 50 years. Oh, as close to 60 even. And it's a nationwide organization in the United Kingdom. If you are in the United Kingdom, you'll find us in 23 cities in the UK. And even if you're not in a city that has a branch, you'll be close enough to a city that has a branch. The big cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Sheffield, even Lancaster, where I live, we all have branches. So go to www.ofnc.org.uk. If you go there, you'll see a list of the branches and of the activities. If you're a student in the United Kingdom, there are actually welcome parties taking place in several branches. So you might be able to be a part of those welcome events. And if you're not, we look forward to your joining us soon. This is part 1 of a 2-part series organized by the Back to the Roots team. The next one is on the last Friday of October. I'm sure that somebody can share the flyer right now, but if not, it will be out in our public media spaces where you can see them. And if you want to find out more and just keep in touch and get the YouTube link, send me an email. I've already put my email in the chat box and you'll be able to get it. You might also want to find out about a few of the activities that we run. We don't do the OFS in the US. There's a different organization called African Christian Fellowship USA. You can find out about them as well. Just Google ACF USA. But what I was saying is that we organize several other programs apart from Back to the Roots. There are men's programs, women's programs, youth programs, 18 to 30s programs. So if you check the website, you'll see the notices of the events that are taking place, and you can just attend any one. Some of them are free, but some you have to pay for. But our aim is to make everyone a faithful disciple of Christ, and that's our motto: everyone a faithful disciple of Christ. You don't have to be a Christian to benefit from our activities, obviously. Like I said to my friends, Jesus never healed someone and said, "Oh, you haven't been to church, so I won't heal you." Everyone's entitled to the love of God, and we just want to spread the love of God. So get in touch with me via that email address if you want to find out more, or check our social media. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, and we've got YouTube. God bless you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think this brings an end to our meeting. And I just want to thank everyone for attending this meeting. I just want to emphasize that if you want to receive slides, can you please complete the online survey and just indicate that you're happy for us to contact you, and we'll be able to send the slides to your email address. Yep. I think that's everything done. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Can we stop recording, please?
Oh, yes, we wanted to do the closing prayer, of course.
Yes.
So I'll just say a quick closing prayer.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I just want to thank you, Lord, for this time we've had. It's been a great time in your presence, and you have spoken through people who have been inspired, not just by the gift that you've given them, but by the Holy Spirit. I pray that we all here will use the gifts, will use the benefits that we've received. And I also pray a blessing on those who have spoken and on those who have organized this event. Thank you, Lord. And we pray prosperity and blessing and favor and the love of Jesus Christ on everyone gathered here and who will watch via our social media outlets. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I will stop recording.
Yep, perfect. Thank you very much.
Is it?
Dr. Kintu, I don't think the recording has stopped yet.
I'm looking for it. It's okay.
Okay, sure.
It has.